It was one of those nights where the sky seemed heavy with silence, the kind of silence that follows a long day of struggle, and for Daniel, a single father of a 7-year-old boy named Liam, life had been nothing but an endless string of struggles since the day his wife passed away 3 years ago. She had been the light of his life, the glue of their small family, and when illness claimed her, Daniel found himself stumbling in the darkness, trying to hold everything together for his son. Taking on 2 jobs and still barely making ends meet, his body tired but his spirit refusing to surrender because every time he saw Liam's little face light up with joy, he knew that was his reason to keep going. On this particular evening, Daniel was driving home from his night shift at a local diner, the car running low on fuel, the kind of low that makes the dashboard blink with red desperation. So he pulled into a small gas station on the edge of town, a quiet place where only the fluorescent lights hummed against the backdrop of the empty road, and as he stepped out, rubbing his eyes from exhaustion, he heard it, a soft, muffled sound of someone crying, not the kind of casual tears one wipes away quickly, but deep, broken sobs that seemed to carry a lifetime of pain, and there, near the side of the station, sitting on the cold pavement, was a young woman, her clothes neat but her face hidden behind trembling hands, her shoulders shaking as though she carried the weight of the world. Daniel hesitated, because he was a stranger and didn't want to intrude, but something inside his heart, maybe the empathy that had been carved out of his own grief, pushed him forward, and he approached carefully, asking in a gentle tone if she was all right, though he already knew she wasn't, because no one who cries like that is all right, and she looked up, her eyes red and swollen, mascara streaking her cheeks, and for a moment, their worlds collided in silence, 2 broken souls. Recognizing something familiar in each other, she stammered that she was fine, but Daniel could see through it, so he offered her a bottle of water from his car and sat down a few feet away, giving her space but also showing he wasn't going to leave her in that state, and slowly she began to talk, her words spilling out like water breaking through a dam, telling him that she had just lost her job, her apartment was slipping away, and she had no family close by to help, that she had tried to stay strong all day but the loneliness caught up to her at this gas station where she simply broke down, and Daniel, who understood loneliness all too well, listened without judgment, nodding, sometimes offering small words of comfort, sometimes just letting the silence wrap around them in solidarity. What surprised the woman most was not that he cared to listen, but that despite the exhaustion etched on his own face, despite the grease-stained diner uniform he still wore, despite the clear evidence that life wasn't easy on him either, he carried a quiet strength, the kind of strength that said, "I know how hard it is, but you'll get through this," without ever saying the words, and before she left that night, she asked his name, and he said simply, "Daniel, and that's Liam," pointing to his sleeping son in the back seat, the boy curled up against the car window, his small frame rising and falling with steady breaths, and something about that picture, the tired father still smiling softly at his boy, the boy who slept peacefully despite the world's chaos, tugged at her heart in ways she didn't fully understand. Daniel didn't ask for her story beyond what she offered, and he didn't ask for her number, didn't expect anything in return, he just told her sincerely that tomorrow was a new day and she was stronger than she thought, words that weren't rehearsed but born out of his own survival, and when she whispered her name, Sophia, he nodded, told her to stay safe, and then he drove off into the night with a nearly empty tank, never imagining that this brief encounter would ripple into something that would change his life forever. The next day, when Daniel returned from work, still trying to figure out how to pay next month's rent, still balancing the bills that piled like unwanted reminders of failure, still wondering how long he could keep this up, he received an unexpected call from the landlord telling him to come by immediately, and with worry clouding his mind, he went, half expecting another notice or warning, but instead he found Sophia standing there with the landlord, her eyes no longer puffy from tears but calm, steady, carrying a strange mix of relief and determination, and before he could piece together what was happening, she smiled at him and said, "You didn't know me, but you sat with me when I needed someone, and you gave me hope when I had none, so today I want to give you something back," and though his confusion grew, he stood frozen as the landlord handed him a stack of papers, explaining that the house he had been renting month to month had been fully paid for, transferred to his name, bought in full by Sophia. Daniel's first instinct was disbelief, then refusal, because how could a man like him accept such a massive gift from a woman he barely knew, but Sophia insisted, her voice trembling not with weakness but with sincerity, telling him that she had once been given a second chance in life and had promised herself that if she ever had the means, she would do the same for someone else. And that night at the gas station, she saw in him the kind of selfless courage that deserved stability, that his son deserved a home, and no matter how much he resisted, she told him this was her way of saying thank you to the world for not letting her give up, and that he had unknowingly been the light she needed to see in her darkest moment. Daniel's knees weakened, his heart racing with a storm of gratitude and disbelief, and as he stood there staring at the keys in his hand, he thought of his son, of the future that suddenly seemed brighter, of the roof that would now forever shield Liam without fear of eviction, and tears filled his own eyes, the kind of tears that come when the burden you've carried so long is finally lifted. And in that moment he realized that sometimes kindness echoes louder than we ever expect, that sometimes the smallest gesture, like sitting down with a stranger crying at a gas station, can lead to miracles. And as he hugged Sophia with unspoken thanks, Daniel whispered a promise to himself that he would never forget this day. And dear viewer, as you're listening to this story, remember that kindness has power. Your words, your actions, even your small moments of compassion can change lives in ways you may never imagine. And if stories like this inspire you to believe in humanity, then make sure you subscribe to our channel right now, because each story we share is a reminder of hope, love, and second chances. And by joining us, you're not just watching but becoming part of a community that believes kindness can still change the world.